you have to make stuff that the fans need, not want, need. I need to make a profit because I need to make a profit to keep making these, but I would rather make less money per figure and have people have all these figures on their shelves than make lots and lots and lots of money. Hey, I'm Brian Volk-Weiss. I am the founder and current CEO of the Nacelle Company. And we just had a great conversation all about our new Star Trek line that we are designing and selling on behalf of Paramount Global. And this is Trek Untold.
Hello and welcome back to Trek Untold, the Star Trek podcast that goes beyond the stars. I'm your host, Matthew Kaplowitz. The past few episodes we've been talking about New York Comic Con, which I just attended recently, and as I'm recording this, I'm still wearing the clothes I was wearing on day 3 because it is, for me, still day 3. And I was so excited about all the stuff that happened at this event that I just thought I had to just go right into filming my podcast intros. And this was one of those special interviews that I had a lot of fun doing and really just geeking out with who the guest was. So yeah, we're gonna have a good time here with this one. And that's because today we're talking to Brian Volk-Weiss, and he's the CEO of the Nacelle Company. And a lot of folks might be familiar with him and his work with the Nacelle Company from Netflix's The Toys That Made Us. And if you don't know what that show is, it's a great docuseries that's available on Netflix that covers all the toys of our past and all sorts of childhood nostalgia, including episodes about Star Trek, Star Wars, Real Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, He-Man, and a ton of other things. And in addition to that, Trekkies will know him best for his work on the docuseries The Center Seat. And in fact, Brian appeared on this very podcast quite some time ago. I think it might have even been like year 1 or very early in year 2 of this show to discuss that docuseries, which literally documented the entire history of Star Trek from day 1, if not even earlier than that, to where we are today with the series. And it was a real, truly great deep dive into a lot of stuff that folks don't know. I mean, again, if you're a fan of the Untold stories, and you must be because you're watching or listening to this podcast, the Center Seat is definitely going to be for you. Brian and the Nacelle Company very, very recently, and I say very recently, meaning the last 2 years, I think, branched out into something beyond just TV shows, and they've now entered the world of action figures. And that's what brought Brian to New York Comic Con, because he was there to do a panel about his newest venture in action figures. And to date, they haven't really done much in the Nacelle Toy Company now, and that's included bringing back the Biker Mice from Mars license in a 6-inch style. They've brought back Sectars. They've brought back the Great Garloo. Talk about a deep cut right there. But for us Star Trek fans here, this is what's truly awesome to me, is that Brian and Nacelle Toys have now got the license for Star Trek action figures. And this is huge because I am a long-time hardcore Star Trek toy collector. I've done entire episodes about Playmates toys, we've done entire episodes about the Mego toys, we've done stuff about Eagle Moss in the past, and we will be doing things with Fan Home very soon, among other things. So yeah, me and toys, we go hand in hand and have since, well, obviously, childhood. And that's the same story for Brian Volk-Weiss. He grew up as a Trekkie, he grew up as a fan of these things, and now that he's doing toys, he just happened to find a way to get that Star Trek license and start making the toys he always wanted to have as a kid. And I gotta tell you guys, the story of how he got the license is pretty shocking too. It's pretty unbelievable how quick this all came together, as you're gonna discover here. And the toys that he's doing, they're gonna blow your mind. These are such unexpected deep cuts, but they are very welcome deep cuts. And there's some really, really great ones that I'm honestly so excited to get, and I can't believe we never got them 20 years ago. Now, for the folks out there who were collecting the revised Playmates line that came out about 2-ish years ago or so, you know, to kind of set a little bit of the stage here, Playmates essentially, I hate to say it, but kind of dropped the ball with their Star Trek figures, and I think a lot of the fans kind of turned on them very quickly, and that's why they only had essentially, I guess, 6 action figures total, along with a few roleplay items and 2 ships. And notoriously, I've spoken to folks in the past about how Star Trek toys just don't sell well. And Brian has heard those things, and we addressed that in this interview here, and he explains why, frankly, he doesn't believe that, and really it's that a lot of these folks just maybe weren't listening to what people really wanted to get. And that's how you know you've got somebody who really loves this license, who really loves Star Trek, because they're doing what they love and what they know that us hardcore fans are going to love. And that right there should tell you everything you need to know about Brian Volk-Weiss if you've never heard his name or heard him talk in an interview before. So let's get articulated now and come across with a few more than 5 points of articulation as we chat with Brian Volk-Weiss over at the Nacelle Company and Nacelle Toys to hear the latest news about his all-new line of Star Trek action figures. But before we get started with this week's episode, I want to ask you guys to please follow me on social media. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, you can follow this podcast at Trek Untold across all of those different places. Please make sure to subscribe to the show if you're listening to it on any audio platform, and we're on pretty much almost all of them out there. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, hey, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for all of our updates. And big shout out to my supporters over on Patreon. They help keep this starship going at warp speed. So as always, big gratitude to all my fine friends over on Patreon. And if you're in a position to financially support this podcast, please consider doing so by visiting patreon.com/trekuntold. We've got a list of different benefits you can get there as being a special member as part of this community, and you'll play a part in helping keep this show continuing to go at optimum power. You can check out links to all these things I just mentioned, as well as a few other things I didn't, in the show notes below. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and beam in this week's guest. Computer, access interview file. Hello and welcome back to Trek Untold, the Star Trek podcast that goes beyond the stars. And today we are literally beyond the stars, although it doesn't look like much at the moment, because I am here at New York Comic Con and I'm joined by one of my most favorite people, one of my most favorite filmmakers out there.
Very kind.
Brian Volk-Weiss, CEO of the Nacelle Company. And we have a lot to discuss here today. In particular, we're talking Trek toys. So we've had you on the show before, where you were talking about The Center Seat, which was a great docu-series that your team did, amazing series. As well as Gates McFadden's podcast, which I know new season coming soon.
Yes.
We'll probably talk about that a little bit later on here. Season 3, excited for that. But the big news right now is that Nacelle Company has the rights now to do Star Trek toys. This came out of left field, and I'm so effing excited for you, and I'm so excited to see what you guys are going to do.
Thank you.
But I got to know, this is a huge property. This must have been, years in the making.
No.
When did this begin? No,
it's like the craziest story, ever. So as I think you know, we do the Expanse toys for Alcon. So that was Exhibit A. We had shown that we could take a third-party IP, we could design it, we could make it, and it, obviously it being science fiction didn't hurt. So that's Exhibit A. Exhibit B was I had heard a rumor. It's funny, I normally don't have to be that careful when I speak because I'm only talking about our stuff.
Right.
This is I really need to think before I talk about certain things. Anyway, so I had heard that Playmates was not going to be doing another wave of Star Trek. Yeah.
I can confirm that, actually, because I talked to folks over at Playmates at Toy Fair, and they said they were going to maybe continue it only in the world of maybe role-play items or maybe ships, but figures they were done with. So I guess the figure license was up for grabs.
Well, I never heard that officially, but like I said, I heard from a very unusual source that they had not done very well. I had heard they'd done very badly, and Playmates didn't want to make more.
Was this source Faggio the Collector, or?
Plead the fifth. So I knew that. And again, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is going to seem insane. I literally was talking to our head of consumer products. One day, within a week or two of hearing that Playmates was done, I was like, do you know anyone at Paramount? And he was like, well, I wouldn't be very good at my job if I didn't know anyone at Paramount. I'm like, can we take a whack at Star Trek? And he was like, yeah, I can ask. So they agreed to a Zoom. I think we had 2 weeks to get ready. We put a deck together, and the deck was literally... So because of Toys That Made Us, I know a lot of owners of toy companies, and I know a lot of people high-ranked at toy companies. So I had been saying to them for years, get the Star Trek license and make characters that haven't been made before. And the examples I always gave was Captain Jellicoe and Captain Garrett, from Yesterday's Enterprise and Chain of Command. And rightfully so, no one listened to me. So the deck we made in those 2 weeks was literally a deck based on the stuff that I used to say to like Brian Flynn at Super 7 or people at NECA, whatever.
It's just a dream list you probably already had.
It's just a dream, yeah. So we just made this deck. We had the deck. We put it out, and it was like great. We had a meeting with, a guy at Paramount Global. I'd never met him before. At the time, we had called it Star Trek The Unproduced. That was the name of the line. That's what I wanted to call it. And he was like, great, I love it. Thank you. We'll be in touch. Our people will call your people, like a bunch of Hollywood stuff. I'm like, cool, thank you. I would have bet you everything I owned, we never would have heard it from them again. Just not because of him or Paramount. That's business. That's life, especially in 2024. Like, it's just, it is what it is. We took our swing, whatever. For the rest of my life, I could say I pitched Paramount making Star Trek toys. I really felt that would be the high bar. Like a month later, got an email from the same guy saying, hey, are you going to Licensing Expo? And I was like, yes, we are. And they were like, the guy was like, well, can you meet with my boss? I was like, sure. So I met with his boss. We're sitting there at Licensing Expo at the Paramount booth. We just talked about Star Trek. Like, it was literally just like you and me.
Two fans
talking about Star Trek. He may have asked, like, one question, like, are you sure you can do this? Like, we've only been making toys for 3 years. And I would argue it's really only 2 years. Like, if you look at when RoboForce came out, that was 2 years ago. So it took us a year to get there. But, yeah, so we've only been making, Expanse isn't even out yet. So, like, no one's held them. So about 2 or 3 weeks after that meeting, and again, I follow up. Like, I have a lot of systems where I track. I wasn't even sure. I never thought it could happen. And then we got this email. It didn't even go to me. It went to my colleague, Michael, who runs consumer products, and it was like, hey, congratulations, you've been approved to make the Star Trek toys. And that email is obviously framed and on my wall at work. Yeah, that was it. And then we had a meeting where it was like, okay, you pitched us 80 characters. Who do you want to start with? And I gave, because originally we were going to start with 6. So I gave them 6 of who I wanted to start with. They were like, great. And that was it. And then when we announced that we were doing it, we put an email address out so people could write to us and tell us what they wanted.
That must have been bombarded from day one.
Oh, we've well over 2,000 emails, well over. And one of the reoccurring things that people kept saying, and it's interesting, I'm a toy maker, I'm a toy collector, and I'm a huge Trekkie. Never did I think of this in a million years. Many people wrote, please don't make 2 or 3 figures. If you're going to do this, do it. So email Paramount, I was like, can we do 8? And they were like, go do 8. So that's why we're doing 8, and if this works, which, I think it will, but you never know until the pre-sale, I hope we'll be doing 10 figures a wave, and I hope to do 100 figures at least. I'd like to put out 2 waves a year.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 figures a piece. 10 figures a piece, 20. I'm bad at math.
Math, but ambitious at toy making.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes, very ambitious at toy making.
So here's the thing, because Nacelle Toys is a relatively new company, like you said here. You guys are not, I respectfully, I don't want to say that you're not battle tested, but you're still kind of getting your water legs essentially in this market.
Yeah.
And you guys now have this massive property, right? And here's the thing about Star Trek toys is, we're in the Javits Center right now. I've been here for years doing Toy Fair, New York Comic Con. I saw McFarlane Toys showed off their Star Trek stuff, and it died in a wave. Diamond did Star Trek toys for a little bit, and they did pretty well, but again,
Diamond
didn't last.
Did great.
They had a long run.
I would say Diamond made at least 50
They probably did the best,
figures.
honestly. Yeah, they probably did the best.
Playmates originally, they did the best. They're the bar to hit.
Yeah. But
they did, I think, at least 400 characters.
Yes, they did. They were running out of characters by the time they wrapped up.
But didn't do Captain Garrett.
No. But, there's a lot of other companies who came and went, is where I'm getting at here. Like, there's, I can name a few others. There's even some that are not here today that used to be here quite often. And they've all said similar things to me, that Star Trek is not the most viable property. It's not like a Star Wars. It's not like things like that. You disagree.
I absolutely disagree.
Because, you can see how Playmates handled the last thing that they did, the last run. It's like it basically had one wave and we were done. So what are you guys going to do differently to make sure that that's not the same fate that you have?
So we're having this interview before the on sale. So everything I'm about to say to you could be right. Everything I'm about to say to you could be wrong, or something in the middle. And I love Playmates, so I'm not going to say anything that they could take to be an insult.
And to be fair, there's room enough at the table for everybody to eat and make toys.
Well, yes. But what I will say is, again, I have over 400 Star Trek characters in my house on a shelf, held with earthquake-proof putty. I did not buy a single Playmates figure of the new line. That is technically not true. I did buy Spock, but I only bought Spock because they made the radiation gloves. So I have the radiation gloves on display. I do not have the Spock on display. And I love Spock. It has nothing to do with Spock. I just already have 10 of those. I have probably 25 Kirks in 23rd century uniform, probably 10 22nd original series. So you have to make stuff that the fans need, not want. Need. Buying toys, we're doing everything we can to keep these under $30, right? That's still a lot of money for a lot of people. So to ask people to spend $30 on a piece of plastic, they need it. It's not about wanting it. So you can't just do Khan for the 5th time.
Right.
You can't do Kirk in his maroon 23rd century uniform for the 50th. It's been done. So what I'm hoping we're right about is that my own personal Star Trek knowledge, which I'm 48, I began accumulating that knowledge probably 45 years ago. I hope people agree with me that, oh my God, they made Captain Garrett. Oh my God, they made Tuvix. Oh my God, they made Peter Preston. Like, they made almost every character from Star Trek II. How do you not make Scotty's nephew? He's the thing in the show, in the movie, that gives it weight. Like, his death, I remember my mom crying. So that's what we're doing. I hope it works. I think it will.
I think it will too. I have to ask these questions because I have to be cynical and skeptical for the sake of getting a good interview, Brian. But the reality is, I'm also a pro wrestling toy collector. And I know that here, again, at New York Comic Con, we've got Major Bendy's and the Big Rubber guys downstairs. And I know Nacelle Toys here, Cella Toys out there somewhere else in the world. They're doing wrestling toys and they're doing that thing. They're doing the exact same thing, which is filling the gap of guys who didn't get made during the Hasbro era or the Bone Crunchers era from Jakks.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a call to arms with these kinds of things. But is that going to be basically enough to support the market? I guess what I'm kind of getting at is, what is the business strategy with these toys? Where are we going with them?
So the business strategy is, of course, like I said, to get to 100 figures or more. We're breaking it into 2 categories. And it's so funny. I'm glad you asked that because I apparently only like to talk about one of the categories. So category 1 is what we just talked about. Never, ever, ever been made.
Completely new.
Category 2, they have been made, but not that version. What do I mean? We're making Captain Sulu. So there have been a lot of Sulus. They've never made Captain Sulu from Star Trek VI. I know what you're going to ask. Are you making the Excelsior China? Yes, we are. Yes.
So,
and 2 pieces. 2 pieces, a plate and a cup. So it's not like we're just doing obscure stuff for the sake of obscure stuff. So we're doing Captain Sulu. We're also doing Captain Archer. But it's not Captain Archer in his 22nd century uniform. It's him from A Mirror Darkly, which is widely considered, other than the pilot, to be the most popular Enterprise episode. And unless you go to Etsy and spend $80, you can't buy that figure in that outfit. So it's not just obscure stuff. It's also the big things, but new versions of them.
Well, since we are running down some names now, let's drop some more names here, Brian. So who is going to be officially in Wave 1?
So I'm bad at lists. I always forget one. But let's see. If there's ever a list I should get right, This should be it. We'll see if I can do it. It's like a weird thing. Like if there's 10 things I got to know, I always remember 9. If there's 6, I always remember 5. It's weird. So we'll see if I can do it.
Instead of 8.
That's right. Well done. Well done. All right, here we go. Captain Jellicoe, Captain Garrett, Midshipman Peter Preston. See, I had to make the joke and screw myself up. Tuvix, Captain Sulu, Captain Archer, Valkyris from Star Trek 3, and Weyoun.
Oh, Weyoun.
Yes.
Wow.
I did it. I got all 8.
That's all 8.
I got all 8.
Round of applause for Brian Volk-Weiss. That is a pretty amazing list, too. That's a great list.
You like it?
I'm super excited for all of them, but Weyoun, oh my God. So we're talking about names like George Takei, we're talking about Scott Bakula, but we also have some folks like the performers who did Captain Garrett, other people there, Peter Preston. So we're talking big names, working actors, character actors, let's just say here. What is that like for you now? Because you've essentially dabbled a little bit now in dealing with likenesses as far as licenses go. This is now, again, this is playing big time. This is playing in the big leagues. So what has it been like for you and your company to start talking to these folks?
Very easy. You know, you have to remember, because of all the other things Nacelle does, we're used to talking to agents. We're used to talking to lawyers. We're used to talking to publicists. We're used to talking to managers.
And you do have the rep already with all the Netflix stuff and everything else, too. That's true.
So, you know, we have a management department. Someone in our consumer products asked the management department, hey, can you give us the rep information for these 8 names? We got it. Again, I'm telling you what I think happened. I don't really know, but I assume it was something close to this. So we got all the info. You know, we hire actors all the time for our shows. So somebody from a company they deal with, they may not know the person calling, but they're like, hey, this is so-and-so from Nacelle. We're doing Star Trek toys. Is it true you represent Jeffrey Combs? Yes, we do represent Jeffrey Combs. We would like to license his name and likeness for a Star Trek toy. Great. What's the offer? We negotiate and then close, sign, send him some money, and then here we go. So even though you're absolutely right, we have never done that for a toy before. We've been doing that for TV shows and movies for close to 20 years. So yeah, it was super easy. Super easy.
Well, I should have corrected both of us, because you have done that with your toys. Because you've done the comedians, which did reach out. That's more reaching out to the States, I guess, right? No?
We were already in business with them. So I could have just agreed with you. But no, that's why we picked the 3 we picked. We already have the Bill Hicks estate. We already have the Lenny Bruce estate. We were working with Joan Rivers at the time. So it was like this, it was just, hey, you want to make can we make toys instead of records? Sure. Like it was like that. It was that simple. Yeah.
So I know that the new Star Trek toys you guys are doing are going to be, I believe, close to 6 to 7 inch scale, right? That's
they'll all be about 7 inches. I don't like just saying 7 inches, because to me, and we learned this with The Expanse, some characters are much shorter than other characters. So yeah, there'll be some characters that are 6 inches because they have to be, and there'll be some characters that are 7.5 inches. But it's around 7 inches. Our North Star is Star Wars Black Series G.I. Joe Classified. That's the quality we're looking for.
Well, I got to dig some more about these figures here. And by the way, I think the perfect April Fool's joke would be having like a Weyoun 5-pack.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, but if you do that, I get the first one.
It's actually a really good idea.
You can steal it. It's all yours.
For a lot of reasons.
But I do want to ask, to dig a little bit deeper, you know, we mentioned Captain Sulu's teacup. Can you reveal any other details about accessories? Oh, yeah. Will there be bases? Actually, that's a big question for me. Will there be bases with the figures?
Not sure yet.
Okay.
Not sure yet.
I'm a base fan. I know some people are like, whatever. I'm personally a base fan.
I like base fans, but I would do what McFarlane does, where it's designed for keeping your figure up. It's not some... Because,
just something utilitarian, basically.
Again, I don't want to... It's very hard to talk about this without coming off as disrespectful to prior companies, but I don't know if you remember the Star Trek Nemesis figures.
From Art Asylum?
They came in this package. These figures were big.
Yeah.
They were like 7 to 8 inches.
They were at 110 scale.
They were really nice. The packages were so overwhelming. The figures look small. So I'll never forget the first time I finally got one, and I took it out. I'm like, whoa, it's huge. But the packaging, so I love what McFarlane does for their Batman line, which is the only McFarlane I really collect. Probably 100 of them, but it's just a simple black piece of plastic with a pole. It says DC on it. Not a pole, little nub. And that's it.
Little peg.
That's it. Yeah. So I would do something like that to make sure the characters can stand and look good. There was another Star Trek line that had these beautiful, like, transporter-esque bases. They're so big. And it's like, I just feel like it takes away from the artistry of the character. So if we do a base, it'll be a minimal base. Accessories?
Brian's eyes just lit up for all the audio listeners out there.
Oh yeah. So, Captain Archer, are you familiar with that episode?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So one of the things, and I think you know this about us, obviously, our background is in comedy. So what I always say is, if you watch Seven, if you think of Seven, if you haven't watched Seven in 5 years or more, you think of Seven, what do you think of? What's in the box? What's in the box? Like, you think of all the bad, dark, bloody, crappy stuff. If you watch the movie tonight, it's funny. There are so many fun. The police chief, the phone rings. He's like, "This isn't even my phone." Just there's so much just because he has a library card doesn't make him Yoda. Like, there is just so much comedy in that movie. So we try to put a little humor in everything we do. So I don't know if you remember this or not, but Captain Archer, he gets poisoned by Sato in the last scene of that episode. And she puts poison in his champagne. Archer does this very bizarre thing. And I remember when I saw the episode the first time thinking it was bizarre. So I thought this was bizarre the entire time. For 20 years I found this funny. He pours the champagne on his face for no reason. Like, literally no reason. Just, he's like laying in bed, he takes a drink, and then he just goes like this and pours it on his face. So we're coming with a champagne glass, a thing that goes in it so it's like half full, and then another thing you can put in it so he can reenact the scene of him pouring champagne on his face for no apparent reason. So it's like stuff like that. Rachel Garrett. Rachel comes with two heads. One head looks great. The other head, she don't look so great.
Let's say battle damage, Captain
Battle
Gary,
damage. Yeah? But as a part of the battle damage, one of the accessories is we're calling it what are we calling it? A dangerous piece of debris. And it's literally a piece of metal that can, I don't know if we're going to use magnets or what, but it's like you put this stuff, you put these little things in them. So like Jellicoe. Jellicoe comes with the finger paintings, but he's also going to come with the fish tank. Now, you might say, well, he threw the fish tank out. Why are you including the fish tank? Because he threw the fish tank out. So it's like stuff like that. It's these little details that, like, Valkyris, she comes with the Genesis tape. Like, it's like that's the stuff that I think is what makes... So like I said, the only new Playmates figure I bought was because of the accessory. It wasn't because... Yeah.
That's how it was for a lot of us.
Unfortunately.
Well, that does bring up the question of tooling, because you're running down a lot of folks who will be having unique sculpts. There are some Starfleet people, but even the ones you've named, we're talking TNG uniform, Monster Maroon. So what are you guys doing as far as tooling goes to keep your budgets, keep your costs from going crazy big here? Because if you're doing unique tools for every single person, that's going to be... I feel like that's going to hurt you guys, right? Could it hurt you guys?
This is... And here's the thing, and I always say this. I didn't go to business school. All I need to do, this is the way... And luckily I own the company, so this is how I set the clock. We just have to be profitable. We have a lot of other things that we do that make lots and lots and lots and lots of money. So, and they're good. They're good. They're running. They're up and running. They're making lots of money. My goal is to make 100 figures or more. That's the goal. I don't care. Like, you could argue, why are you making Valkyris? Why didn't you make Chekhov? You'd make more money with Chekhov. You'd make more money with Uhura. Yes, we would. But I want to say to the fans, like when Super 7 did the reaction figures, I loved that they made, not Arcus, what's his name?
Armis.
Armis.
Armis, yep.
I love that they made Armis. I bought Armis. Their Beverly Crusher came, I don't remember exactly what it was, but she came with an accessory that, to the best of my knowledge, had never been made before for Crusher. So I need to make a profit because I need to make a profit to keep making these, but I would rather make less money per figure and have people have all these figures on their shelves than make lots and lots and lots of money. A lot of toy companies are, as you know, they're only toy companies. So if they don't make a lot of money on their toy, and that's, if I had to guess, that's why Playmates made what they made, because on a spreadsheet, you know Captain Kirk is going to do X, Spock is going to do Y, Picard will do Z. So if you're a fan, I'm sure some people, maybe a lot, will be annoyed that of our 8 figures, we wasted one on Valkyris. But what I would say to anyone who feels that way, and obviously I'm saying this all preemptively, I could be completely wrong about this. What I would say to them is our goal is to make 100 figures or more. We will hopefully get to who you want us to make. I want to make them too. But Valkyris, think about it. She's the first time you've ever seen a Klingon woman. Her costume obviously influenced every single Klingon woman costume ever made after her. And it's a great scene. Similar to what I said about Peter Preston, her death and the nonchalant, it wasn't even nonchalance, but like her death, the conversation, her and Crude, you know, they're like married or something.
They were.
I don't know if you know that. Well, they were, yeah.
They were, yeah. Past tense.
Yeah, both of them. They did get reunited much sooner than they probably thought they would. I never thought about that till right now. But that's why we do it, because I want the fans, I want the community to understand that we're not doing this because of spreadsheets. We're doing this because we want to fill in the gaps that exist. A lot of those Klingons from Star Trek III have been made. A lot of characters from Voyager have been made. Tuvix, listen, the opening of that episode is unwatchable. It's some of the worst Star Trek ever made. I don't know if they're like singing a song on the planet. From the minute they beam up to the end of the episode, that is one of the best 35 minutes of Star Trek ever made. I would use it as an example to show someone who doesn't know anything about Star Trek what Star Trek is. They never made Tuvix. So that's the logic. Right or wrong, smart or stupid, who knows? But that's the logic.
So you mentioned a lot of names which are amazing, but what about Brian's dream list here? And I know there's probably a lot of them that, from this first wave that are your dream list,
yeah.
But what's the true dream? Like, what's maybe the top 5 you want to make sure you get made before this, eventually will come to an inevitable end?
Jelko, Garrett, for sure. I always screw up his name. The Cardassian that tortured Picard.
Gul Maced, I believe? Or Gul Madred, I believe, right?
Madred. Yep, Gul Madred. Definitely want to do Gul Madred.
David Warner.
Dr. Carol Marcus. And then, God, if I could only do 5.
I'll let you do 6. You could have 6. You could have 10 if you want.
I really want to do Captain
You just want to do everybody,
Sinclair.
I think. Ooh.
I want to do Captain Sinclair. I think Captain Sinclair is the first female captain in the history of Star Trek and the first black captain in the history of Star Trek. So again, it's a tiny role, but it's important. A lot of people forget this. Like, we had never, 79 episodes in Star Trek the Motion Picture, they never showed another Federation starship class. Only Constitution. The Reliant, as great as it is, it's Khan's ship, that's the second Federation starship ever. So the show launches in 69, and they don't show another ship and they're supposedly part of this giant space armada. So between 69 and 83, they only had one type of ship. So for me, Captain Sinclair, it's a similar reason to do it, where this was the beginning of like transitioning from the, where no man has gone before to where no one has gone before, which, as you know, is a huge part of Star Trek, is this continuing journey to make the world better. So I would want to do Captain Sinclair. This is the kind of thing where tonight I'll think about it and I'll be so mad I missed people. I really want to do Brock Peters,
Yes,
Admiral Cartwright.
or Papa Cisco. You get likeness, you can do both.
That's right. That's
for one
right.
deal.
That's right. Could do that. I want to do Cisco from, what's the one where he's like a reporter?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know I'm blanking on the name too because it's been a long day, but I know the exact one.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I know the name, but I can't remember it either. Yeah.
I really, and again, I don't know how shows sell, but I really want to do, I always want to say Dr. Gillian Taylor. She's the epicenter of Star Trek 4. What's considered to be the best or second best Star Trek movie ever made. There's no movie without her. Never been made. So, yeah, those I know I'll think of stuff after this where I'll be pissed. I'm like, should have said that. But there's my list.
And I do want to just backtrack for a quick moment here back to accessories, just because I was thinking about this as we were talking. Hands. Do we have additional hands?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that for everybody across the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we can give a hand to anybody you want. All right, awesome.
That's right.
Yeah, all right. Terrible pun joke. I don't know where it's going.
No, that was good.
It's been a long
like
day.
on Archer, for example, we're going to have an Enterprise phaser. We're going to have an original series phaser. Same thing for the communicators. So you're going to have the normal accessories you should have.
The standard ones.
Then there's a very bizarre green goblet with green liquid in it. It's like this spiraling, loopy jar kind of thing. We're going to have that. We're going to have the glasses, and they're going to have the green drink in them. And then we'll have the aforementioned bizarre thing where he pours champagne on his own eyes. But yeah, so that's the thing. So it's like I'll give you a great example. I like Transformers. I don't love them. I'm not like a crazy Transformers guy, but I like Transformers. I probably have between 50 and 70 at home in my collection. I'm not a Grimlock guy. I'm not a Dinobots guy. I'm not. I don't like them. I'm not a dinosaur guy. Never have been. One day, I saw that Super 7 had made a Grimlock where he's wearing an apron and he's got a plate with a fish and a bunch of cups and like tons of cups. Like it comes with like 12 cups. It's really weird. I bought it because if they had the courage to make Grimlock with an apron and a fish serving, I gotta buy it. Yeah. So that's we want the fans to be like, whoa, that's some deep cuts, because buying a toy is emotional. So you have to communicate to the fans emotionally, and the best and most important way to do it is to convince the public that we are also fans. And we sat there, by the way, for yesterday's Enterprise, I didn't have to watch that again. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. For Tuvix, I hadn't seen that since it aired, so I had to go watch it again. And there was so I'm sitting there, my kids are asleep, it's 11 o'clock at night, taking notes.
What horrible homework you had to do for this toy line.
It's really terrible. But yeah, so it's a dream.
Now, do we know when the pre-sale is officially going to begin?
No.
Okay. Will it be this year, next year? Can we give a rough
If
estimate?
I had to guess, it'll be next year, early next year. But, again, we have a partner. I don't know if you know this or not. We don't own Star Trek. So it's not just about us anymore. So, they have a lot of stuff going on. So the same people we're working with, they're also doing Turtles. They're also doing Mission Impossible,
Miraculous.
whatever. Yeah. So while it's easy for me to be like, let's go, I don't have to deal with Turtles.
Right.
I don't have to deal with Miraculous like they do. So we'll work with them for when everybody's ready, they'll come out.
Well, I am very excited. I mean, you talk about emotions. I'm getting goosebumps hearing that lineup.
Thank you.
I cannot wait for some of these things to come out.
You're one of the
first
first people I know who I trust, who's definitely you're a Trekkie, right?
I think so. I think I could qualify for that.
Yeah. So hearing you say that is definitely making me feel good.
In my mind, I'm just writing down all the names of folks who I've talked to on this podcast who I want to have made figures. And if you need some help with connections, you let me know. I got names for you.
But we need, I told you, right? We put an email,
Yep.
So people sent us. So it was really helpful.
And what is that email for folks who might want to message you still?
If you want to send us an email, all you have to do is go to Star Trek Ideas at nacellecompany.com, and you can give us any ideas that you have, any feedback. I think with Biker Mice from Mars, originally we weren't going to do the ab crunch.
Yep.
People went crazy. We added the ad crunch. people were thrilled. They're like, look at it. So the funny thing is, when we added the ab crunch, not one person said, not one comment, nothing. Nobody said, what a bunch of idiots. Why did we have to be the ones to tell them? Everybody said, thank you for listening. So like, we make mistakes. Everybody does. We want to hear from the fans, and that way we can hopefully sell more toys.
And on an unrelated note, those Biker Mice from Mars toys are excellent. I was lucky enough to get those sent over to me by you guys. In fact, I reviewed my other channel, Nerd News Today, and amazing stuff. So I've got very high hopes, and that's why I'm also very excited, because I know what I've seen already of you guys, you're making great stuff, high quality stuff.
Very kind.
Legitimately, plastic is great quality. Also, it's something a lot of major companies are kind of skipping on these days.
Yes,
you guys are doing just high quality plastic, great articulation, wonderful accessories. You guys get it. So I know that Star Trek is in good hands, and I legitimately cannot wait to see what's coming down the line.
Very kind.
And before we wrap things up here, we mentioned at the start of this thing, Gates McFadden has her podcast.
Yes.
Next season coming out very soon. When is that? Do we know?
So Gates Investigate Season 3 is coming out in November. So about a month.
Okay, so very, very soon. Okay, that's very
less than a month. Yeah,
that's exciting too, and that's a great podcast. She's really growing into her role as a podcast person too.
She is the best. Oh my God, she's the best. She is so. By the way, it's funny, you get to work with these people, that you look up to your whole life.
You're working with Dr. Crusher.
Hey, I'm working with Dr. Crusher, but Gates, she is so funny. Like we'll have lunch, and I'm laughing my head off. She's so funny. So yes, she's a great interviewer, and we are very happy that we have season 3 coming out in less than a month.
And Toys That Made Us, by the way, I know you guys are doing a panel here at New York Comic Con as well. Right. Any news you could tell us here for our folks who weren't there? We have a couple new, very, 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 very small updates that we're giving. But to be honest with you, we're in pre-production. So we're in the research phase right now. We start production in January, and hopefully season 4 will come out in 25. Awesome. Well,
we have a very busy 2025 ahead of us. And
you're telling me.
We're all a little curious how we're going to get through it, but I'm sure we will.
I'm saying I can't wait, but I have to wait, and that's unfortunate because there's so much good stuff that you guys are doing right now.
Very kind.
And from one fan to another, this is amazing because I think I've said in previous interviews with you that you're living the dream, but now this is above and beyond. You're making Star Trek toys for folks like me.
That's how I feel.
This is amazing. Fans made it for fans.
I feel the same way you do. I can't believe this is happening. If you had told me, just said this to someone the other day, if you had said to me a year ago, what do you think is more likely? Aliens land on the White House lawn, or you will be at New York Comic Con talking about your own line of Star Trek toys. 100% aliens on the White House lawn. Wouldn't hesitate for a billionth of a second.
Well, now you can do Little Green Men from DS9, and there's your White House on the lawn reference.
You can do that.
Yeah.
You can do that.
There we go.
I want to make that Dracula looking, the Nazi Dracula alien.
Oh, now we're talking real deep cuts.
Yeah. But that's, again, one of the better episodes.
That's a whole other podcast episode, Brian, but this is awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. Telling us all about this, and for real.
This is awesome.
Much
as
success
always.
to you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
That's it for this week's episode of Trek Untold. Thank you for watching and listening. Please don't forget to follow this show on all different social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Trek Untold. And please make sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. And for the folks who are watching this over on YouTube, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel to make sure you get all of our latest updates and episodes. A massive thank you to all my supporters over on Patreon. And if you're in a position to financially support this podcast as well, please consider doing so by visiting patreon.com/TrekUntold. If you've been enjoying these New York Comic Con coverage episodes, let me know. Send me an email over at trekuntold@gmail.com. And likewise, if you have any suggestions for guests or things you want to see done differently or folks you want me to talk to, go ahead and send me an email there as well. Until next time, I'm Matthew Kaplowitz. This has been Trek Untold. Thanks for checking out this week's episode. And until next time, always remember, fortune favors the bold.
Trek Untold, the Star Trek podcast that goes beyond the stars, is powered by the Rageworks Podcast Network and affiliated with Nerd News Today.